I know you are, but what am I?
I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I?
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
It's, oh, it honks.
Remember when PBS taught science with potatoes and talking furniture, claymation food, and puppet jazz bands all somehow made perfect sense? We're back with 10 more shows 80s kids forgot they loved, and if you missed part 1, there's a link in the description, but stick around for this one, watch that after, and especially stick around for number 2. It's the reason half of us thought we'd grow up to be forensic scientists. And if you love weird retro TV, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell because you're gonna want to see what's coming next. Let's get into it. Number 10, Dr. Shrinker, ABC. Long before Honey, I Shrunk the Kids turned backyard grass into jungle terrain, the Croft brothers gave us Dr. Shrinker in 1976, a gloriously absurd slice of Saturday morning TV where every toothbrush was a death trap and every coffee mug was a swimming pool. Here's the setup. 3 teens, Brad, BJ, and Gordy, crash land on a tropical island and stumble into the lab of Dr. Bruno J. Shrinker, a mad scientist with a shrink ray and a god complex.
You see, Hugo, my idea works. I finally have my shrinky.
One zap later, they're 6 inches tall, and suddenly the island is full of life or death obstacles. Oversized rats, angry birds, and one very smug villain chasing them like it's his full-time job.
I'm going out and eat rats! Hi there.
Well, it's kind of because it was. Hugo, his loyal assistant, played by Little Person TV legend Billy Barty, occasionally questions why they don't just invest in mousetraps instead.
Hey, turkey! Split before you end up chicken soup!
The effects were pure Croft, big props, camera tricks, and zero shame. In one episode, Dr. Shrinker actually shrinks himself to catch the kids on their level. Spoiler, that didn't help. Each episode followed the same loop. I chase the Shrinkies, I catch the Shrinkies escape. That's not snark, that's literally a quote from the show. Even Dr. Shrinker knew he was stuck in rerun purgatory. Only 16 episodes aired as part of the Croft Super Show in 1976, but early 80s reruns cemented its place in Gen X memory, and if Gordy looks familiar, that's Jeff McKay, who'd go on to appear in Magnum P.I., Airwolf, Tales of the Gold Monkey, and basically every show where someone in aviator solves crimes. We're not saying Dr. Shrinker inspired Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but let's be honest, miniature teens dodging oversized hazards using junkyard ingenuity, Stuart Gordon should have at least sent the Crofts a fruit basket. Number 9, Fraggle Rock, HBO. Before HBO was known for dragons and mobsters, it gave kids Fraggle Rock, Jim Henson's trippy underground puppet utopia where radishes were currency, architecture was edible, and a sentient compost heap doubled as your life coach. The stars were the Fraggles, Gobo, the fearless explorer, Red, the Olympic-level show-off, Moki, the mystical poet with big art school dropout energy, Boober, a laundry-obsessed worrywart who basically lived in a panic attack, and Wembley, the indecisive peacekeeper who couldn't pick a sandwich topping without spiraling. And of course there was Uncle Traveling Matt, Gobo's globe-trotting uncle who mailed back postcards full of wildly wrong observations about the human world.
So, dear nephew, I'm not sure where I am or where I'm going, but I'm being well looked after on the way there.
Imagine David Attenborough, but if everything he said was hilariously off base. Below the Fraggles lived the Doozers, tiny neon green builders who spent all day constructing radish dust towers.
Hello? You? This is Flex. Can anyone hear me? Oh, where is everyone?
Not to live in, not to admire, just to have the Fraggles eat them.
Well, it's a good thing I'm hungry. I can eat my way to freedom.
To 80s kids, that upside-down food chain made perfect sense, a crunchy metaphor for a world where creating and destroying could be the same thing. Then there were the Gorgs, giant furry royalty who ruled their garden kingdom with a rusty rake and a whole lot of delusion.
Junior, more water.
Oh, but Ma, I told you there is no more water.
The Fraggles raided their radishes like tiny musical bandits. Marjorie the Trash Heap offered spiritual guidance in rhymes, flanked by two rat sidekicks who looked like they'd been kicked out of an off-brand Muppet bar. Meanwhile, through a tiny hole in the wall lived Doc, an eccentric inventor, and his loyal dog Sprocket.
Oops. Nice catch, Sprocket.
Doc spent most of the series blissfully unaware that a full-blown puppet society was thriving under his floorboards. That is, until the very last episode, when Gobo finally met Doc face to face and the two became unlikely friends. You cried, it's okay, because so did I.
Where did you come from? I'm a Fraggle. I live behind that hole.
Every Monday night, Fraggle Rock delivered 25 magical minutes of neon landscapes, earworm songs. It wasn't just a show, it was an escape hatch, a weekly permission slip to be weird, build something pointless, and knock it down for fun. Over 5 seasons and 96 episodes, Fraggle Rock didn't just entertain. It taught you to dance your cares away, eat the architecture, and believe that even a pile of garbage might hold the answers to life's biggest questions. Number 8, The Bugaloos, NBC.
You will be taking an unexpected trip. An unexpected trip.
Now, you thought Fraggle Rock was trippy? 1970 brought us the Bugaloos, 4 British teenagers in shimmering insect costumes who lived in Tranquility Forest and spent their days dodging an evil witch whose entire personality was disco supervillain mid-meltdown. Let that sink in for a moment. The Bugaloos, IQ the grasshopper, Harmony the bumblebee, Courage the ladybug, and Joy the butterfly were basically the monkeys, if the monkeys had been shrunk, dipped in glitter, and given the power of flight. They zipped through Tranquility Forest on wires and optimism, belting out bubblegum pop songs while their nemesis Bonita Bazaar plotted musical sabotage from her towering jukebox lair. Martha Ray played Bonita with the chaotic energy of someone who just got kicked out of Studio 54 and took it personally. Her motivation was pure jealousy. The Bugaloos' music was more popular than hers, so naturally she did what any washed-up diva would do: unleash an arsenal of sonic weapons.
Put on your supersonic sneakers, 'cause you're going to the party with me.
Think brainwashing speakers, disco ball mind control rays, and robot henchmen named Funky Rat and Woofer, who looked like glam rock mascots built out of leftover Radio Shack parts. What made the Bugaloos peak Croft Brothers madness was how seriously everyone took the madness. No winking, no irony. Martha Ray delivered villain monologues like she was headlining Broadway. The Bugaloos harmonized through psychedelic mayhem like their lives depended on it.
Let your heart see the colors all around you.
And Sparky the Firefly handled exposition like a glow-in-the-dark Greek chorus. The sets were bargain bin brilliance, cardboard forests that swayed in the breeze, glitter-coated costumes that looked like gym uniforms bedazzled by woodland sprites, and visible wires hoisting teens across the sky, and yet, it worked. The songs were catchy, the colors were radioactive, and every episode felt like getting lost inside a lava lamp.
Frowns are reserved for circus clowns.
Fun fact, future Genesis frontman Phil Collins auditioned to play IQ but didn't get the part. So yes, if history had gone differently, the Bugaloos could have included Susudio, performed by a flying grasshopper. For 80s kids catching it in syndication, the Bugaloos was one of those shows you didn't question, you just watched. Every Saturday morning, 4 British bug people outwitting a jukebox witch felt weirdly normal. Only 17 episodes were ever made, but that was more than enough to launch the theme song in your brain and leave you wondering if you hallucinated the whole thing. Number 7, The Joy of Painting with Bob Ross, PBS.
And maybe some limbs up in here. Right through here. There we go.
Ask any Gen Xer and they'll tell you Bob Ross was the Zen master of oil painting, conjuring snow-capped mountains and happy little trees in less time than it took to microwave a Hot Pocket. Launching in 1983, The Joy of Painting was more than just a how-to show. It was TV's original ASMR.
This will end the 8th Joy of Painting series. It's hard for me to believe it.
At 4 p.m. on PBS, sandwiched between cutthroat game shows and frenetic after-school cartoons, Bob offered something totally unexpected: stillness, and that's exactly why kids loved it. While everything else on TV was shouting for your attention, Bob Ross whispered,
Okay, now let's go into a little bit of the gray and white. Just a little bit.
Literally, his calm voice, soothing brushstrokes, and total lack of pressure made it feel like the TV equivalent of a warm blanket. He didn't talk down to you, didn't rush, didn't try to sell you anything. He just invited you into his world where mistakes didn't exist and every smudge had the potential to become a mountain. Ross wasn't some bohemian artist or TV personality. He was just a guy with a brush and a calm voice, and somehow, it worked. With a few dabs and swirls, he'd start each episode with a blank canvas and a quiet kind of confidence. And then came the magic. 26 minutes later, that canvas held a river, a forest, maybe a little cabin that needed a friend. It was hypnotic. His phrases, happy little trees, happy little clouds, and happy accidents, became pop culture scripture. Even if you never picked up a brush, you felt like you could. That was Bob's real superpower: quiet encouragement. Over 31 seasons, Ross painted more than 400 landscapes and turned untold millions of TVs into makeshift art studios. For 80s kids, he wasn't just a guy with a palette, he was a gentle guru who reminded you that the world was still a beautiful place, even if your day was kind of a mess. Ross passed away in 1995, but his work lives on through reruns, streaming marathons, and endless merch. Whether you watched him or just zoned out after homework, one thing's for sure: no one made silence feel more profound. Number 6, Pryor's Place, CBS.
I come and tell you.
That's right, you tell someone you trust.
I trust you, Bummer.
When you think Saturday morning kids shows, your mind probably goes to cartoons, cereal commercials, and Richard Pryor? Yeah, that Richard Pryor, the king of edgy stand-up, movie comebacks, and more than a few not safe for work stories. But in 1984, he showed up on CBS with Pryor's Place, a live-action, puppet-filled show where every week brought a new life lesson wrapped in jokes, music, and just enough weirdness to make it stick.
I was scared when I did that. I'm real nervous. You ever been nervous when you're on stage?
Oh, yeah.
Pryor played multiple characters, including a sax-playing Rastafarian and a wisecracking adult version of himself, guiding kids through topics like peer pressure, vandalism, divorce, and even racism.
See, I figured if I tell him a joke, he'd laugh and let me go. So I'd tell him this joke that I thought was real funny.
And somehow it worked. He didn't sugarcoat anything, but he also didn't make it feel heavy. He kept it funny, honest, and a little rebellious. The show had Croft-style puppets like Filbert the Liar and Maurice the Magnificent, a magician who couldn't land a trick but still had full confidence. Add a catchy theme song by Ghostbusters hitmaker Ray Parker Jr. A neighborhood set that actually looked like a real city block, and guest stars like Robin Williams, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Lily Tomlin, and you've got a show that somehow felt cool and educational at the same time. It only ran for 13 episodes, but Pryor's Place packed a lot into that short run. Despite some early hesitation from a few stations, Pryor's Place aired on the vast majority of CBS affiliates, but for the kids who caught it, Pryor's Place was unforgettable. It was funny, real, and miles ahead of its time in representing urban kids on screen. Hey, we're halfway through this countdown. How many of these shows did you actually watch? Let us know in the comments if you caught the Bugaloos in syndication or if you changed the channel faster than a game of Frogger. Now, let's get back to the weirdness with number 5, Mr. Wizard's World, Nickelodeon. Before Bill Nye was cool, there was Mr. Wizard's World, the original science show that made you feel like you had a chemistry set and zero adult supervision. Don Herbert wasn't flashy and talked like a guy who definitely kept a fire extinguisher just off camera.
And you now can look at real live animals. There they are.
Look at them.
But every episode, he turned a kitchen counter into a mad scientist's dream. He dipped dollar bills in mystery fluid and lit them on fire without burning them. He made volcanoes bubble, water levitate, and spaghetti noodles behave like high school physics equations. And he always had some poor Nickelodeon kid standing next to him, half amazed and half terrified. The show was loud, glitchy, and drenched in synths. Graphics flew across the screen like it was edited on a Commodore 64, but the real magic was that Don never talked down to kids.
But this is a gas by chemical definition or physical definition.
He made you feel like science wasn't just something you could understand, it was something that you could do. And so we tried. We raided our mom's cabinets, flooded our bathrooms, and set off the occasional smoke alarm, all in the name of learning. It was totally worth it.
And you've just done what?
Yeah.
Made one out of?
Potato cut.
Potato?
And salt butters.
Right.
Mr. Wizard's World ran for 5 seasons starting in 1983, then lived on in reruns through the 90s and early 2000s. Herbert even launched a teacher-focused series in 1994. He passed away in 2007, but his impact never fizzled out. Number 4, Wonderbug, ABC.
Hey, Wonderbug!
Before there was Lightning McQueen or Bumblebee, there was Wonderbug, a rust bucket dune buggy with superhero delusions and just enough horsepower to back it up.
We need Wonderbug!
3 teens, Barry, Susan, and Cece, find an abandoned junker named Schlepp Car. But when they honk its magical horn, it morphs into Wonderbug, a tire-squealing, wisecracking ride with a taste for justice and a voice like R2-D2 gargling a kazoo. Part of ABC's Croft Super Show lineup, Wonderbug originally aired from 1976 to 1978, but reruns ran into the 1980s. This show packed every 12-minute episode with corny one-liners, budget stunts, and Scooby-Doo-style crime fighting. No weapons, no violence, just slapstick justice and chase scenes that looked like they were filmed in the parking lot behind a roller rink. Wonderbug didn't just talk. He emoted.
Wonderbug! Hey, Wonderbug! It's us, Barry, Susan, and Cece!
His headlights blinked like eyes, his bumper curled into a grin or grimace, and when villains tried to hotwire him, he growled like a guard dog and peeled off on his own. And the physics were flexible. One week, he flew. The next, he skipped across water, and sometimes he pulled off stunts that would make Wile E. Coyote call OSHA. It was surreal, silly, and unapologetically weird, but for the kids of the 70s and early 80s, Wonderbug was pure Saturday morning mayhem. Loud, bizarre, and sticky enough to outlast your Fruit Loops. Number 3, 3-2-1 Contact, PBS.
2, 1, contact is the secret, is the moment when everything happens.
Picture this for me. It's 4 p.m., school's out, and PBS is about to convince you that science is basically spy training. That pulsing synth theme kicks in, lightning bolts dance across your screen, and boom! You're watching 3-2-1 Contact, baby! The only show that made chemistry feel like decoding enemy intel.
And what about that parabolic microphone we had? The kind they use at football games to hear the quarterback signals?
This wasn't your average edutainment. The teen hosts, looking like they just stepped off a Duran Duran album cover, delivered lines about electricity and ecosystems with the intensity of secret agents dropping classified info, and somehow it worked. The show launched in 1980, and the production values were pure PBS, somehow still cooler than half the stuff on network TV, but the real hook was the Bloodhound Gang.
Whenever there's trouble, we're there on the double, we're the Bloodhound Gang.
A recurring segment where junior detectives cranked real mysteries using actual science. These kids dusted for fingerprints, tested chemical samples, and solved art thefts and museum heists using the scientific method.
Officer, his partner is locked in a van over in those woods. They stole the Egyptian mummy.
Sheer nonsense.
It's locked in the trunk of a car at the airport.
You'll find pictures of the right car on this roll.
Basically, it was CSI Kid Edition before that was even a thing. 3-2-1 Contact didn't just teach science, it made it feel dangerous and elite. Secret codes in DNA, invisible forces in magnets, entire worlds hiding in microscope slides. Even a vinegar and baking soda volcano felt like a mission-critical op. The show ran for 225 episodes across 7 seasons with 10 bonus specials through 1992. And if you were a Gen X kid, it probably convinced you that real power didn't come from super strength, it came from understanding how stuff worked. And that intro? Man, it still hits like a lightning bolt. Number 2, the ABC Afterschool Special, ABC.
Hi, Terry. Welcome to...
Hello, Mr. Smiley. I'm pleased to meet you.
There was a time when turning on the TV after school didn't lead to cartoons or sitcom reruns, and it dropped you straight into a moral crisis with questionable acting and a life lesson you didn't ask for. Welcome to the ABC Afterschool Special, a well-meaning anthology series that ran for 25 years from 1972 to 1997 and somehow managed to confuse and educate a few generations, often at the same time. Each episode tackled a very important topic, from peer pressure and substance abuse to eating disorders, racism, divorce, and one unforgettable warning about being too punk rock. In The Day My Kid Went Punk, a mohawk and a little eyeliner were treated like signs of the apocalypse.
Now, I go back to work at the beginning of next week.
Hey, look, I made a decision. I'm gonna quit school.
The tone? Well, imagine your school guidance counselor got final cut on a soap opera. It was earnest, it was over the top, and it was sometimes so awkward you had to watch through your fingers, and yet we couldn't look away. The show pulled in a ridiculous number of future stars. We're talking Jodie Foster, Rob Lowe, River Phoenix, and Alyssa Milano, all making early appearances before they were headlining movies or becoming tabloid darlings. And the episode titles were so on the nose that they were comical. It Must Be Love 'Cause I Feel So Dumb, My Dad Lives in a Downtown Hotel, She Drinks a Little, and My Mom's Having a Baby. They're all very similar to how Lifetime names its movies today. What made the ABC Afterschool Special unforgettable is how hard it tried to be relatable and how often it landed somewhere between helpful advice and unintentional comedy. For 25 years, ABC taught kids that the real after-school danger wasn't missing your math homework, it was getting blindsided by a surprise lesson on teen alcoholism or divorce. And somehow we kept coming back for more because nothing said quality television quite like watching a teen learn life lessons through maximum emotional trauma. Number 1, Pee-wee's Playhouse, CBS.
Hey, Pee-wee, do you know what time it is?
It's fun time!
Look at the rainbow.
Gee, it's an arc of prismatic colors, Pee-wee.
And finally, we have our last entry, the wildest, weirdest, and most wonderfully unhinged kid show of the 1980s that we all loved, Pee-wee's Playhouse. Hosted by Paul Reubens as the gleefully eccentric Pee-wee Herman, this wasn't just a children's program, it was a technicolor explosion of puppets, puns, pop art, and pure chaos.
Morning, Magic Screen!
Look, Pee-wee, I drew your picture.
That looks just like me!
Every Saturday morning, CBS handed Reubens over $300,000 an episode and let him build a living cartoon, and what we got was magic. Inside the Playhouse, everything had a personality. Jheri, the talking armchair, Jambi, the rhyming genie, Globy, the French-accented globe, Conky, the robot who spat out the secret word of the day, prompting instant screaming from everyone, including the furniture, and Terry, a whiny pet pterodactyl who somehow also had his own pet pterodactyl.
Uh-oh, here comes trouble. It's Randy.
Hiya, Pee-wee.
The cast included future stars like Laurence Fishburne as Cowboy Curtis, yes, Morpheus had a Jheri curl and wore purple chaps, and S. Apatha Merkerson as Reba the Mail Lady. You also got early appearances from Natasha Lyonne, Phil Hartman, and even crew credits from future director John Singleton and Rob Zombie. Each episode was a sensory overload. Stop-motion dinosaurs, claymation food, jazz-playing animal puppets, and guest stars. One minute you were watching a beatnik puppet recite poetry, and the next, Pee-wee was jumping into the magic screen to play connect the dots inside a cartoon dimension. What made Playhouse special wasn't just the absurdity, it was how deeply intentional it all was. The show was designed by actual artists with influences from Googie architecture, underground comics, and 1950s kids TV. Reubens wanted kids to feel like it was okay to be different, to be loud, to be creative, and somehow it worked for kids, teens, and college students. Across 5 seasons and 45 episodes, Pee-wee's Playhouse won over 20 Emmys, launched a cult following, and became a Saturday morning staple for an entire generation. It was loud, loving, weird, inclusive, and so packed with imagination that it made everything else on TV look like homework. Sadly, Paul Reubens passed away in 2023, but his legacy lives on in every kid who grew up believing that being a little weird wasn't just okay, it was kind of the point. And only in the 80s could a grown man in a bow tie yelling, "I know you are, but what am I?" become the most trusted voice on Saturday morning. And there you have it, 10 of the weirdest TV shows 80s kids forgot they loved. Which one had you glued to the screen? Drop a comment and let us know, and bonus points if you can still hum a Bugaloos tune. Be sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell because we've got more nostalgic TV deep dives on the way. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.